1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddy Crow.
It is Teleforum. It is Thursday. It is Rappin' with the Reps. Although in this case, right now, at the very beginning, it's Rappin' with the Rep. Jim Marshall is here in the studio, state representative for the 14th District. Josh Kale's supposed to be calling in. So, Jim, how do you want to handle this? Do you want to get right down to rapping, or do you want to talk crap about Kale?
Oh, we'll just go right into the work. We can talk crap about Kale anytime.
You know what? Right? Very, very good point by you. As a politician, as a legislator, has the last month and a half with the election been? Are you glad it's finally wrapping up with certifications and runoffs and things like that? How exhausting has it been?
It's been a different year, I'll tell you. And interestingly, the PA Senate has a schedule already for the year. They're ready to go, but the House is still undetermined. The Democrats believe they have the majority. The Republicans believe that they have the majority, and it'll change in a couple of months too.
It's like the old pep rallies. We've got spirit. Who's got more? And they're yelling back and forth.
Sort of, yeah.
When will we find out the final finality for that?
Probably not till January 3rd.
Well, when does the new session start?
January 3rd.
So literally you're going to bring people in and, oh, you won. Cool.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be that way. There's been a few interesting swearing-in days. My first one in 2007,
okay.
The Democrats elected a Republican speaker that day, and that was the first time in probably history that happened.
All right, I think I've got Josh Kale on the phone. Thought I had Josh Kale on the phone. Never mind.
He's always working. I will say that. He's probably in.
Okay, while he's not here to defend himself, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Word won't get back to him. Do you think he works so hard because that's just who he is, or do you think he works so hard to get out from under the umpteen kids that he's got at home?
No, it's twofold, I think. He does have a big family. God bless his wife. She's due any day now. But
he's almost to a full baseball roster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got great work ethic, but really everything he does, and he tells me this all the time, everything he does is for his children and everyone's children, really.
Yeah.
He's all like future driven. Everything's, like 20 years out for
what
him.
you leave behind.
Right.
That's your legacy.
I'm more of what can I do today, what needs done today, and he's more about what needs done for down the road. And you need both.
Oh, absolutely you do. You can't be too short-sighted or looking too far ahead and lose track of the old forest for the trees things. Right. What's your agenda going into the new legislative session?
Well, I'm not.
Because you've been around a little bit now. You know how
60.
Right. You know how things work. You know what you're going into.
Well, I'm not entirely sure what committee that I will chair. I believe it'll be Consumer Affairs again.
Okay.
I believe my co-chair will be Rob Matsey again, so I'm looking forward to that dynamic. We do well together. We do great together. And we're really not sure if I'll be the majority chair for a couple of months and then he will. But at least with our committee, it really doesn't matter. We're co-chairs. We work together. We don't look at the partisan politics. We just get the job done. And there's a lot that we have in our committee, utilities and really anything to do with consumers. So there's always a lot of issues.
All right. Can I pretend to be a disgruntled voter?
Sure. Well, voter? Okay. That's not exactly my wheelhouse. But
well,
sure,
now I'm going to be a disgruntled. You're representing me. I voted for you.
Okay.
Constituent.
There
all right. We'll go with constituent.
Yeah.
Jim Marshall, you represent the 14th District. How come my gas bill jumped through the roof? You're the consumer guy.
Well,
I tried to use the inflection.
I love it. Yeah. Well, gas prices are related on the market, and we have a lot of gas here in Pennsylvania.
Right.
We do use a lot for manufacturing, and we do need it for home heating. But with the war in Ukraine, and there's the market's not stable. There's a need to get more gas to the market here, and companies are doing that. And we need more development. We need more pipelines. Yeah, I think sometimes the federal government policies might be against moving our natural resources around and be against pipelines, and we need to have the ability to get our goods to the consumers.
I saw somewhere we just drilled more oil wells in PA or in the States than we have in a long time. Does that give you hope that at least somebody starting to recognize if we don't buy this stuff from somebody else, that's great because we got it here.
We're a natural gas exporter.
We're huge.
And we're huge. With the Marcellus and the Utica, we need to use that to make sure that our consumers have home heating and to make sure that our companies can manufacture PA goods here.
Jim Marshall is my guest, state rep for the 14th District. It's Rappin' with the Reps. If you've got a question, you can call it in or you can post it. This is being live Facebook feeded. Right now, it's Beaver County Radio is the Facebook if you want to go look it up. Why do we not recognize what we have in front of us? Why is that such a tough pitch? I'm asking because I just saw, and I'm sure you did too, the cracker plant. They flared some stuff off, and people lost their minds. And you can try and explain to them that's a good thing that happened. That shows that the safety stuff works. What is the almost militant push against using our own natural resources?
I'm really not sure. I can tell you that sometimes the general public want to see somebody that they know and trust, really to explain those types of things to them. And maybe they don't have the time to research why a cracker plant needs to flare. Maybe maybe Shell needs to have a public relations person right here in the county to
but see,
meet with them.
They do. I've gotten emails, and everything's explained. They have a department. It's not the information being disseminated that's a problem. It's the information not being absorbed.
That could be, but
yeah,
sometimes the general public might want to know the information is coming from somebody that they already know. Sometimes you need somebody right here to dispel the myth. Somebody
that you've already decided to trust?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Exactly.
All right. I believe Josh Kale's joining me on the phone now. Josh Kale, is that you?
It is me, Eddie. How are you?
I'm doing good. Jim Marshall is sitting here with me, and you're joining, and it's Rapping with the Reps. And can I just throw a question at you right to get it going?
Let's do it.
I'll ask you what I just asked Jim. I just saw we drilled more oil wells in like the last month than we have in years. Are you hopeful that we will start to recognize, at least in PA, the natural resources that we have available to us that would solve a lot of other issues going into this new legislative session?
I do think that there has been a public reckoning with some of the policies that we've seen on the other side of the aisle in regards to energy. And there certainly have been people talking a much better game on the other side of the aisle on this issue. And I'm hopeful that that is more than just political rhetoric and is actually going to turn into tangible results. We will find out with this new administration within the next 6 weeks whether that's true or not. And we'll find out through appointments, who he puts in certain key positions that regulates the industries and other key positions that'll develop policy regarding the industries. It's one thing to say something that you're for something and you campaign on it, and far too often in politics on both sides of the aisle, what we campaign on doesn't turn into a reality of what we're driving. And so I'm optimistic in the sense that there were promises made. I'm not completely confident that those promises will be fulfilled, but I will certainly be watching and will give the new administration the benefit of the doubt. And hopefully we do see a new approach to energy policy in Pennsylvania, because frankly, Eddie, for Pennsylvanians, for this region, for the entire Commonwealth, and the implications it could have nationally and internationally are astounding. And not just for energy independence, but also for manufacturing independence, which is going to become a crisis if it's not already. I believe it is already, but I think it's going to become a more obvious crisis as we go forward. Pennsylvania has the answers. We have the resources to provide affordable energy, not just for us, but for the nation and for our allies. And it also has the resources to provide affordable energy for manufacturers that want to reshore and come out of China and come back here so that we can have the resources we need moving forward as a nation.
Josh Kale and Jim Marshall are my guests. We're rapping with the reps. You mentioned the new administration. I got a question about the current, soon-to-be former administration. Where can I get a job that allows me to spend millions of dollars on lawyers and not tell anybody what it's for?
Jim, you want to answer that one?
Well, the governor is big on transparency.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm sure he's going to tell us really soon.
For people that don't know, the story I think came out yesterday, maybe the day before. There have been millions of dollars, a boatload of money spent on lawyers, and, well, we don't have to tell you what for. How is that possible? Is that something legislation could address? Because transparency, if you campaign on it, I would like to think you're going to apply it.
So there's two sides to it. On the one hand, we need absolute transparency when public are being discussed. Public funds require public trust. So I think we need to look into that and make sure we have that. Now, there are the rules associated with the attorney-client privilege, and that's why this information is redacted. Those rules have been abused by attorneys. They take too much of the privilege and apply it too broadly. They do that on purpose. We see it at the federal level, state level. We see it everywhere whenever the attorney-client privilege is invoked. But there is a good reason for that privilege, and it's so a client can have confidence in sharing the truth and sharing sensitive information with their attorney and not feel like it's going to become public knowledge. And in this instance, it would obviously become very public knowledge. So I guess the real question is what are they using these lawyers for? And maybe if we knew those answers instead of the exact details of conversations and legal strategy, which is what the actual privilege is supposed to be for, we would have some understanding as to why those conversations need to be held in confidence.
Josh, you went into full lawyer speak mode, didn't you?
I did,
yeah.
And if you notice, I didn't give you an answer on anything, and I just, kind of gave a it depends answer.
That's
yes,
all right.
We could do something with it legislatively. I guess my answer is ultimately we'd have to be very, very careful because lawyers, if they do provide an essential function, which they do in some regards, I think their function's overused. Being a lawyer myself, I feel like I can say that. Being able to keep client information in confidence and completely secret is an essential function of what they do.
That's
something that needs to be and should be protected.
I don't think you said you didn't answer the question. I think you absolutely answered the question. It was completely over my head. I have no idea what you said, but you answered it. Josh Kale is my guest. Josh Kale is my guest. Jim Marshall is my guest. We're rapping with the reps. It's 25 after 9. News is next on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio.
You're tuned in to the multimedia presentation, Rappin' with the Reps. Call 724-843-1888 or 724-774-1888 to rap with your representatives. You can also participate by posting comments or questions in the Facebook Live video feed. Today's show is brought to you by the Laughlin Insurance Agency and Beaver Valley Auto Mall. Click BeaverValleyCars.com. And now it's your chance to rap with the Reps right here on Beaver County Radio, Facebook Live, and the Beaver County Radio online audio stream.
Friendly Federal Credit Union, you've got a friend.
If the arrival of Santa Claus has you a little worried, especially because of the condition of your home, it's time to make your home improvement wish list, check it twice, and then borrow the money from Friendly Federal Credit Union. If your roof looks like it's seen a few too many reindeer landings from previous Christmases, or your fireplace and chimney look a little worn out from St. Nick's annual descent, get them fixed up now. Borrow up to $3,000 from just 3% for up to 30 months with approved credit. Maybe you simply need new living room furniture for the big guy to relax and enjoy his cookies when he arrives. Whatever needs done, Friendly Federal can help. Home equity loans are also available for bigger projects as well. Happy holidays from Friendly Federal Credit Union in Baden and Aliquippa. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Friendly Federal Credit Union, you got a friend.
Insurance doesn't adequately describe what we sell. This is Renee from the Laughlin Insurance Agency. Sure, affordable insurance is the means that allows us to do it, but what we really provide at the Laughlin Insurance Agency is peace of mind. It's true, worrying about risk can take the fun and joy out of almost everything. We see every day how having peace of mind can lead to more enjoyment, which, last time we checked, is a fairly priceless commodity. Make life more enjoyable. Call us at 724-774-1230.
Children are the future, and your future career begins at Life Steps Early Education Center, hiring child care assistants and preschool teachers for full-time, part-time, or substitute positions. Life Steps offers 100% paid health, dental, and vision premiums for full-time staff, making a difference in the lives of children for nearly 100 years. Call Life Steps today at 724-283-1010 or visit lifesteps.net. That's lifesteps.net to find out more. Life Steps is an equal opportunity employer.
Did you know that since its inception in 1987, the Beaver County Corporation for Economic Development has helped create over 12,000 new jobs through site development, client referral, providing access to financial incentives for developers, and direct investment? Beaver County CED is leading the way with a bright future for Beaver County, shaping Beaver County's bright future through strategic investment in business and communities. It's the Beaver County Corporation for Economic Development. Click beavercountykced.org.
The Beaver County Chamber wants you to get stung with excitement. That's partly because of all the great things going on in the Beaver County business community, but it's also because you could win 2 tickets to the sold-out Sting concert at Heinz Hall January 10th. The Beaver County Chamber of Commerce has Sting concert raffle tickets available for $10 each. Winners will be announced at the Beaver County Chamber of Commerce holiday party on December 13th. Winner need not be present. Get your Sting concert raffle tickets now. Click bcchamber.com or call 724-902-4286.
The Beaver County Humane Society and Nally Elias and Associates, PC in Aliquippa, remind you that it's important to remember you should think before you adopt a new pet this holiday season. Many people think it's the ideal time to adopt a pet, but adopting a pet during the holidays isn't always a good idea. Pets need sufficient time to adjust to your home and new surroundings. Pets are a lifelong commitment, and many are returned after the excitement of the season fades. Think before you adopt this holiday season. Happy holidays from everyone at the Beaver County Humane Society and Nally Elias and Associates, PC, Aliquippa.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Frank Sparks.
Hey, good morning on this Thursday morning, December the 8th of 2022. Your Beaver County Radio weather forecast for today is calling for cloudy skies throughout the day today. Our high is going to be up to 47 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County Radio weather forecast coming up, including taking a look at your weekend right after we have this look at news. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano is reporting that the Hopewell Area School Board met on Tuesday night and that new Superintendent Jeff Belts attended his first school board meeting. He thanked the board for hiring him to be the new superintendent, and he told the board that he wants to attend district and community functions if he's made aware. He thanked Assistant High School Principal Dr. Robert Kardachak, who was the acting superintendent and assisted him during his transition. Dan Santia was named board president, and Lori McKittrick is the vice president. Peter Retzma was hired as a substitute teacher for the junior high school effective January the 3rd. Board member Paula Buxton was appointed to a 3-year term as district representative to BCCTC. Junior high school teacher Paula Battisti and Michael Gill presented a request to take 7th and 8th grade student councils to Cedar Point for Education Day. The board will meet on Tuesday, January the 10th for their work session and on January the 24th for their regular meeting at 7 p.m. The Ambridge Police Department is spreading holiday cheer. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano has more.
Ambridge Police announced that Lieutenant John Chicos and Officer Austin Turner filled their cruiser with toys that have been donated. The abominable Bumble visited and cheered them on. On Friday, December 9th, 2022, officers Tim Deppenhart, A.J. Bilak, and Nathan Swircause will be on duty. The goal is to fill 2 cruisers for Toys for Tots. The crew is credited for being an asset to Ambridge. It has been reported that one of the officers is a secret Santa every year. Christmas trees are purchased for 2 local families chosen at random. Residents are advised to drop off toys and deposit them in the police cruiser in the lot at 611th Street on Friday. This crew, it has been reported that they plan on claiming bragging rights for the next year. This is Sandy Giordano reporting for Beaver County Radio.
Allegheny General Hospital has officially opened its second hybrid operating room. This will allow AHN's award-winning Cardiovascular Institute's cardiac and vascular surgeons to expand their offering of minimally invasive image-guided surgeries to more heart patients. The hybrid OR at AGH features the most advanced imaging technology available, providing surgeons with real-time diagnostic images like CT, ultrasound, and X-ray scans for more precise navigation during highly complex surgical procedures. Nomination forms for the class of 2023 Beaver Valley Musicians Hall of Fame are now being accepted through January the 31st of next year. To be considered, the candidate must have a reasonable connection to Beaver County and have made an outstanding musical contribution to society. The official nomination form can be found on the Beaver Valley Musicians Union website, which is bvmusiciansunion.org, or using the nomination form tab. Required information includes the candidate's contact information, as well as the similar information about the individual who is making the nomination. A detailed biography of the candidate's musical contributions and a photograph should be included. Donald Trump's attacks on fellow Republican David McCormick contributed to the former hedge fund manager's loss in the Pennsylvania Senate primary in May. Now, as McCormick considers running again for the Senate in 2024, Trump's derision may not be such a liability. McCormick hasn't said whether he'll challenge Democrat Senator Bob Casey, but he's taken steps signaling a campaign may be in the works. Former President Trump dominated the GOP primaries this year, wielding the power of his endorsement to lift his preferred candidates. But many lost in the general election, and now he is facing blame for contributing to the party's midterm shortcomings. That could be open room for McCormick and others without worrying about blowback from the former president.
Here's the Beaver County forecast on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Cloudy skies today with a high of 47 degrees. Mostly cloudy overnight tonight with a low down to 31. Partly sunny tomorrow, high 45. Then on Saturday, a chance of morning rain. Otherwise, it'll be cloudy throughout the day with a high of 46 degrees. On Sunday, rain likely mainly before 2 p.m. Also high of 46 degrees. That is a look at the news for now. I'm Frank Sparks, Beaver County Radio News, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and beavercountyradio.com.
You're listening to Teleforum with your host, Eddy Crow. The numbers to call are 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888. Join the conversation on Teleforum.
Conversation with the reps rolls on. It's 9:35, 45 degrees in downtown Beaver Falls. Josh Kale, state rep for the 15th District, is on the phone. And Jim Marshall, 14th District, is here in the studio with me. You can call your questions. You can also post your questions on the live Facebook feed that's going on right now. That is Beaver County Radio. If you want to search it and get hooked up with that. Josh, every time I talk to you, you get me an update. Where are we with the Krasner impeachment? Because from the outside looking in, the Philadelphia DA looks like he's digging in his heels even harder every time I see a story. Where's that at?
Well, he's digging in his heel because he's becoming more and more embattled. What's happening is, so he has been impeached. That's already gone through the process.
Right.
Right now, he is, the Senate accepted the articles, meaning that they will go through the process of having a trial and seeing whether or not they want to convict the district attorney and remove him from his office. That's where it's at in the process. It won't be occurring. There won't be much more news until probably the middle of January. The district attorney is trying to claim that we don't have the ability to do this and legally don't have the ability to do it, which he's completely incorrect on. But that's been his approach throughout this whole process, and that's one of the reasons why he's in the predicament he's in, is because he has absolutely no regard for how the system works or the rules that are in place to protect civil liberties, to protect people, to keep us safe. And he wants to keep going down that road throughout this process. He's just proving our point that he does not have any regard for the rule of law and how this process is supposed to be working itself out.
Jim, one of the arguments that I saw put forth was the impeachment stuff happened in the last session, so therefore you shouldn't be able to remove him from office in a different session. As a legislator, how does that sit with you?
I think that there's a lot to be done with the trial, a lot of facts to learn, but I have to agree with Josh. It was within our ability to proceed, and I just have to think we'll have to wait for the outcome now.
Is it that bad in Philly? I saw a story that they're, I think it was a gas station, they're hiring their own armed guards to stand out in front. I haven't been to Philly in a long time. Is it that bad?
Eddie, we're seeing things across the board at 7-Elevens in Philadelphia, and everyone's so curious as to why this is happening. There's armed guards. There's people now that are trying to defend themselves. Like, is this a new anomaly? And then you look at what the district attorney did, and it becomes very apparent as to why this is happening. He has publicly stated he is not going to enforce petty theft laws. That he is not anything under, I believe what his statement was, $1,000 in retail theft, he's not going to prosecute. So these 7-Elevens and Sunoco's and places across Philadelphia have been absolutely raided because the police don't have the ability to prosecute because their DA said, we're not going to prosecute those cases. This is not prosecutorial discretion. This is not anything other than an abuse of power. It's taking the job and saying, I am not going to follow through with my job, and it's having real life consequences. It's one thing if we are in an academic setting and somebody's pontificating as to whether or not this is the right thing that they should do. It's another thing when lives have been lost and property has been destroyed. We need to say to this district attorney, enough is enough. Do your job or get out of the job.
Jim, what's the rationalization? What's the excuse? If I tell you I'm not going to do my job, how can I justify that and make you understand that? Is there any way?
There's no way to understand that. I mean, you don't need tougher laws in Philly. You need enforcement and prosecution. And I'm sure the police are probably at their wits' end with this out there.
Well, if you're a police officer, how less motivated are you to deal with it? You're not going to deal with it because you know nobody's got your back.
Right, and then when that begins, it's a landslide of theft out there.
And it all.
And I think it's very important to build on what Jim was just saying because I think this is a critical point in all of this. The men and women that go into police forces are doing so because they want to make a difference, because they want to keep people safe. When you have a district attorney that is not allowing them to do their job because he won't prosecute the cases that they're bringing, it totally hamstrings and demoralizes the entire workforce, the entire police force. And that's what we've seen now in the Philadelphia FOP. We have good men and women that want to do their job that can't do their job because you got a bum district attorney who thinks he's in a philosophy class at Columbia University and not in a district attorney's office in Philadelphia. And that's the situation that we're in this Commonwealth right now.
Mr. Kale, that is very likely the most pointed I've ever heard you speak about another person. It's that bad.
It's bad when you hear from the parents of murdered individuals from Philadelphia who were murdered by individuals who should have been in prison but weren't because of the district attorney. When you hear from 7-Eleven owners saying that they have to shut down and they've lost thousands of dollars, their life savings, because they can't do anything about people coming in, just taking stuff and leaving, because the police don't have the ability to prosecute because the district attorney won't. It's bad when you go to downtown Philadelphia and you see dirt bikes going all over the place and ATVs going all over the place and these gangs just totally taking over the streets, so you can't even ride a bike or drive a car right down in the middle of Center City, Philadelphia, because the district attorney has said he's not going to prosecute any traffic violations. This is the world that he has created, and he needs to take ownership of it. You know, there's things that he has stated that we might actually agree with the district attorney on as far as policy goes, but it's not his job to cherry pick which laws he's going to enforce and not enforce. It sounds like to me he wants to be a legislator. He ought to run for legislator or become a lobbyist or work in the field somehow like that. But being a district attorney, that's not the job this guy wants. He wants to be the person making the law. He doesn't want to be the person enforcing it, and he chose the wrong office to run for.
Josh Kale on the phone, Jim Marshall here in the studio, rapping with the reps. Jim, have you ever heard Josh that pointed?
No, he's
on
fire. He's a lion today.
But what he says, and you would know this better than me, how do you justify turning your city into a war zone? Josh, what you just described sounds like what has happened in Chicago.
It is. And New York is starting to actually put some reforms in place. Pittsburgh's going to have to make a decision. That's going to affect us a lot here next year. And we cannot, the ideology of a district attorney means nothing, and it should mean nothing. What does mean something is when you let that ideology dictate whether you're going to do your job or not. And that's the problem that we're seeing. Somebody's beliefs, honestly, politically, should have no say in what they're doing as a DA. Your job is to enforce the law. When it comes to lawmaking, that's different. You want to know where somebody's ideology is. You want to know what they believe and what they think the vision forward is. But the system doesn't work if we don't have district attorneys that are just blindly following and enforcing the law. That's what they need to be doing. That's their job. If there's a problem with the law, we have as the people to make and change those laws.
All right, Jim Marshall, let me ask you this. Is there anything preemptively, legislatively that can be done? Because that's dangerous when somebody's picking and choosing what laws based on their own personal ideology. Can you lay down a structure legislatively that forces DAs to actually follow the letter of the law?
We're doing it now. That's the process. And
okay.
It's not a show. It's not about a show of force. It's not about partisan politics. It's about public safety, and that's why we're doing it.
724-843-1888 or 774-1888 if you would like to call. Josh, I know you're getting ready to run. Literally, you had a meeting. You're going to another meeting. So we'll let you go early.
Yes.
I did want to ask you this before I let you go, though, okay? Here comes
Yes,
naive question of the day. All the COVID money that we've got in the bank that we have to spend in the Commonwealth by, 2024, can we not start allocating that and spending that now on infrastructure? Or am I being too naive?
No, that's exactly what it ought to be spent on. It ought to be spent on items and infrastructure because infrastructure have a strong return on investment. When we put money into infrastructure, we are going to end up getting money back through economic development and tax revenue. If we have money to spend, that's where it needs to be spent on roads, bridges, sewer systems, water, sewer, all that stuff, water systems. It's just that's the basics of governing. It's the tackling and blocking of governing. We need to stop wasting money on all these projects that we have seen not work in the past 10 to 15 years and get back to the basics of infrastructure and tackling and blocking within the legislative process.
Jim, do you believe we understand the frailty of our infrastructure? Conway had to boil water for 3 or 4 days this last week. You saw what happened in North Carolina. One person took out power for 40,000 people.
I don't think really people understand it until they don't have it. And, when you lose your electric or when, God forbid, there's no gas to light your furnace or hot water heater, then that's panic mode. And you're accustomed to turning the switch on and it working because the infrastructure is great, but it's at risk, security risk, it's aging, and it needs attention.
How frustrating is it to know that we in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania have the materials to solve a lot of our problems when we're talking about power sources, and we're still swimming uphill against that logic?
I don't know. I'm not frustrated by it. I'm just passionate about improving and really maintaining the system we have. It could be done. We just need to stay at it.
Josh, how do you keep your cool? Because you're applying logic, and it seems like a lot of people aren't particularly interested in logic.
Whenever I get riled up or get frustrated with it, I just call my good friend Representative Marshall, and he calms me down.
Does he? He just talks you down a little bit?
Every day.
At the end of the day, Eddie, we're all on the Marshall Plan.
Oh, what meeting have you got to bail out to go do? What's your meeting?
I am meeting with an individual on education issues and how we can fix the some of the funding issues and things like that. So it's important stuff. I think it's going to be front and center as we go into this next wave with this next administration, and we need to make sure that schools from Midland, Pennsylvania, all the way out to Bucks County have an equitable funding formula, and I'm looking forward to representing our interests in Beaver and Washington County in Harrisburg in that regard.
Well, you represent well. How many meetings do you have a week, average?
Oh, goodness.
No wonder you're tense.
20, 30.
All right. Well, you
I don't know. Do you include phone calls in that?
Well, when it's to us, yeah.
Phone calls. A lot. It's you're constantly talking to people on a wide variety of issues, and because there's so many different issues, you have to be constantly talking to stakeholders. And really, we say stakeholders, but really, what we mean by that are you got to be talking to the people that suffer the consequences of your actions. So when we pass a certain law in a certain that deals with a certain industry, we want to talk to the workers of that industry. We want to talk to the businesses in that industry so we can have a better understanding of how it's going to affect what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. And so when that's the case, and there's so many different areas that could end up being affected, you constantly have to be in communication with different groups and different organizations. And that's the best part of this job, I think, is bringing people together, finding common solutions and understanding, and making the Commonwealth, and in particular Beaver and Washington County, a better place.
Well, go to your meeting. Open. I'm going to give you a piece of advice, and you're not going to follow it. And you're very correct in not following it. You ready? Walk in, and just top of your lungs scream, "Why can't Johnny read?" And then flip a table over.
I'll give it a try, Eddie, one of these days. I don't know if today is going to be my day, but one of these days I might get there.
It'll happen the day after you announce you're not running for re-election.
Hope that never happens.
Mr.
Or maybe once if Jim Marshall announces that he isn't running, I'll be so upset by it that I'll do something like that.
He'll be flipping tables then.
Mr.
I will be flipping tables. It'll never happen though. We're going out together, right, James?
Have a good trip today, buddy.
Thelma and Louise tone at the end. Thank you, Mr. Kale. Seriously, for taking the time.
No problem, Eddie. I will be in contact, and have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year, pal.
You too, my friend. How big is the bag that Santa has to show up at the Kale house, Jim?
Oh, I know. He's got so many kids.
He's up 40, 50 kids now or something.
Yeah, and I think there's like 105 cousins. And it's every day is an adventure with the Kale family.
In all seriousness, you know him much better than I do. You're both state representatives. You work together. I've never heard him get that wound up. And he was still measured and he was still controlled. But when he was talking about Philly and talking about Krasner,
that really gets him.
Well, I don't blame him a lick.
No, not at all.
What's going on in Philly is exactly what he said. People are just not applying the laws. And if I know you're not going to bust me for a specific thing, I'm going to consider very strongly doing that specific thing.
A lawless society no longer becomes a society. I mean, that's
deep.
That's the issue.
Can we end with that? I'm not going to come up with anything better with that.
I'd like to, yeah.
What do you hope gets done your next legislative session? If you could have one thing that happens, what would Jim Marshall say? That's my list.
Well, that's a tough list because I really like to focus on infrastructure and transportation especially, but also the infrastructure of the grid and of the broadband.
The stuff we don't know till we ain't got.
Right. The things you don't see are the things that really can be vital to us anymore. And we have to have a connection. We have to be able to often work from home or educate from home or telemedicine. Those are important.
That was a lot of the story out of North Carolina. People saying, well, I'm an IT person from home and I work for hospitals. I can't do my job and the hospitals can't do their job.
Right. A friend of mine was over the other day, and he was basically on call at work. And the first thing he did, he got his laptop out to make sure he had signal, just in case he has to fix a problem at work, because he can do that remotely. So, he needs to be able to have access to the internet wherever he goes when he's on call. So,
and because of technology, there's no reason that's not feasible. We can get it anywhere we really want to get it.
Right. We just have to get it deployed correctly.
Josh Kale was my guest, state rep for the 15th district. Jim Marshall sitting here with me, state rep for the 14th district. Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you? We heckled Kale pretty good. That was fun.
We did. It's funny. It's like looking in a mirror, looking at you, Eddie. I just feel like, we're both great for radio, but it's always a good day.
Is it a compliment to say we're equally ugly? Is that what you're going for?
I think that's what I'm going for, yeah. I think that's what I'm
You
going
got
for.
my vote.
There you go. Thanks, buddy. Have
Jim,
a good one.
there's your platform for your next election.
Regular guys.
The homely vote for Marshall.
Regular guys.
I appreciate your phrase. Thank you, sir.
Merry Christmas to you and your listeners, buddy.
Merry Christmas to you. You doppelganger, you. It's teleform. I got something we got to get covered. Next hour is very important. It's something we should have dealt with yesterday. We couldn't yesterday. We're not going to mess it up again. Don't go anywhere. You'll understand.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge, broadcasting live from the St. Barnabas studios.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right here in your neighborhood.